Round of applause.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice. Wow.
This is how we roll in Hebden Bridge.
Wow, it's great here. Oh, it's amazing. You were an amazing audience. It was really exciting watching it with everyone. You were great.
Lovely to have you back for the final film. What a closing night film. When I saw, I was at the London Film Festival, and when I saw this film, I thought, I found my closing night film.
Wow.
Very happy that we had to fight a bit for it, actually. So, and they weren't sure that Hebden Bridge would be such a great big audience. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
that it's
we proved them wrong.
Very nice. What brought this about, Jessica?
Well, I was doing a box fit class in the gym that is in the film. In fact, a local friend in Folkestone had said, you should go to these classes, they're great, on a Tuesdays and a Thursdays. It's only £2, and just take a bottle of water. It's really good fitness, whatever. So I've kind of found it. It was down a little alleyway in Folkestone, and I couldn't get in the door at first. It was all jammed, and finally got it open, and then I was sort of in this little really smelly, little dank kind of hallway with these metal stairs, and I just saw this bit of graffiti written on the white wall, Ellie smells of shit. And and I thought, oh my God, this place is so authentic and amazing. I love it. And so climbed up the metal stairs and then went into this boxing kind of gym, and I was like, wow, it's so just immediately thinking this is a beautiful space, a cinematic space, these red walls and these high windows and the light and all of the old dusty punch bags and the shelves, and it's all just exactly how you see it on film. And I thought this space has got to be on film somehow, in some way. It's just so beautiful. I'd love to film something here, write a story that did give me an excuse to kind of film here. And so then I went to a few, I say a few, that's an exaggeration, less than a few, but some box fit classes. And on one occasion, these women who were really strong-looking professional boxers walked in and got in the ring and started sparring. And I was thinking, that's the story. A woman who does box fit, trying to get, like a woman like us, like me, trying and wanting to get and to fight in the ring, like with these professional boxers, and as an amateur or professional boxer. I think there's an age cut-off point, but, just properly learn to box. And I thought, how can I create a story with that as my premise? So that's really how the beginning of the story came about. And because obviously it's about fighting, it just naturally then became about female rage or rage. I don't know if female rage is different from any other kind of rage. Rage is just rage. But anyway, it just became about rage. And then about kind of, as I developed her more and more and more and got kind of deeper and deeper into developing her as a character, it sort of then became about cycles of family dysfunction. And I just realised there was just so much to kind of explore. And even though the boxing and the gym was at the heart of it always, and a big part of it, it kind of then evolved more into kind of like a family drama, really about cycles of dysfunction, but with this protagonist and her family kind of at the heart of it. And that's sort of how it evolved, really.
Fantastic. I think, I don't know if you know, but the theme of this festival is the other and dare to be different. And one of the things that I was really excited about this film is that it seems to me that it's quite rare to explore the world of something which is the large percentage of society, which is, I think I was so moved by the performances of you and your on-screen husband.
He's amazing, Sean. He was so perfect because he's such a brilliant comic actor. He is naturally funny as a person and has always been really funny. And I've known him for years and years and years. So I kind of knew that he would, but he's also a brilliant dramatic actor, so he's everything, and he was just absolutely perfect, and brought so much warmth and humour and humanity and kind of just lovely. When one of the first things someone said after the first screening we did in Folkestone was said, "I just want to say it's lovely to see a dad on screen like that." He said, "We need more of that." That's what he said. And I was like, I feel like that too, to have him as this, you know, sort of gentle, kind, I mean, flawed but lovely dad, you know. And I think he was perfect.
He nailed it. But I think also what everybody can relate to is you're tired, you're just trying to do your job. You've got kids, you're tired, you're trying to get through the day. And what I loved was that beautiful relationship of them on screen, of their own struggles, and that dual path that they had. It's like, sometimes I'm just too tired to talk to you, and him struggling to get her, you know, and she's just, I loved all that. So if you maybe talk a little bit about that.
I felt like I wanted to sort of make an epic cinematic story about what really is quite a tiny little world in a way, because I feel that, like, you know, everybody has sort of epic stories in their lives in a way, even if they're, you know, and I thought, I was thinking about a few things about how I could use the theme of boxing, but also how I could make a film in Folkestone, all filmed in Folkestone, you know, on a low budget, and it seemed like, you know, if I was going to sort of explore the sort of domestic world of this family in a really sort of intimate way, and about the struggles, the emotional struggles that Tina and the whole family face, that I could try and do that in a sort of epic way, like, and make it feel as big as it feels when you're kind of in that crisis. Because I think that when you're going through anything like that and you feel like the stakes are high, like your happiness or your children or your sanity or your life, and I think everybody at different times goes through those kinds of struggles, I sort of wanted to explore it, and I wanted to shine a light on it. I think one of the things, I remember at one point someone said, "Do you need all the, you know, that scene, the you know, Jason and up the stairs and everything?" I was like, yeah, that's the whole point. That is what the film is about. Like, it's about that, and having such a passion to want to really, like, explain and show that the building frustration of the minutiae of family life, which when you're dealing with it on its own is hard, but then when you're piling on sort of dysfunctional family stress and history stress and other stress, I wanted to sort of make it feel like it was, I wanted to kind of create it and make it feel like it feels, you know, and almost not glorify it, but just sort of aggrandize it, I suppose.
Look, I think that's what I was trying to say, is that so much of what we see on screen doesn't honour that kind of story, and I feel like there are so many people in the audience here who've been in so many moments that are in that film. How good is Anita Dobson?
Oh my God, she's so good. She's so good, and she was also so nice as well. Like, when she came and she turned up, and like the first time I met her was like at 6:00 in the morning at the hotel that she was staying in, which wasn't, thank God, the Grand Burstin, which I don't know if anyone knows Folkestone. Somebody does over there. Grand Burstin, it's a lovely place, but, you know, they didn't put her up at the Grand Burstin. They put her up, you know, somewhere a little kind of nicer. And I went and met her in the breakfast room, and she was just sitting there with a massive smile on her face, sort of looking at the script, and because that was all the time that we had. We only had her for 2 days, and she was just like, "Whatever you want, I'm here, I'm ready, I love it, I'm just ready to do it." And she was so enthusiastic and so lovely and so kind of just ready to just to do it. And she was just great. She not only was she great in the performance as well, I felt like I really knew. And there were things in the edit that I hadn't even noticed until, like, there's a moment where she looks almost triumphant when Tina kind of goes for her, which was so right. And she really understood what we were trying to say. And she was just brilliant, and also a great person as well.
Very generous, obviously, in her.
Yeah.
I love that relationship, the mother-daughter relationship, because you've had 3 generations, obviously. And I think what was really interesting, the first thing that I found interesting was, of course, the thing about Tina's character and what she'd done in her past. And I think that was really interesting about revealing that, when you got to...
I was worried about that when I first came upon that. And I thought, right, of course. I was developing the script, and I was imagining a flashback of the two when it was the other way around, which, of course, initially it was. Like, Tina had been bullied and Amanda was the bully. And I was thinking, it'd be great to do a flashback. I thought, no, we'd never be able to afford to do a flashback. But, like, what if we did do a flashback? And I suddenly thought, oh, my God, you wouldn't know which one was which. Oh, you wouldn't know which one was which. Of course, it's the other way around. Tina's, of course, the bully. Like, that makes perfect sense, because she's the one who's dealing with this anger, and then that led on to then it sort of the dysfunctional kind of parental relationship. It just suddenly all started to make more sense. It was almost like uncovering the story that I kind of knew was there, and just trying to feel my way through it till it felt as authentic as I could get it, and as just instinctively right, I just thought. But I was worried, because I felt like, God, are people, I know anyone as well who's been through any kind of bullying like that at school is going to feel like, okay, I'm not comfortable feeling sympathetic for somebody, because especially if you've been in Amanda's shoes and that's happened to you, I thought people are going to, I was worried. But I suppose I thought, well, I guess I'll find out. And I think in the story, ultimately, the fact that, Amanda has her closure, and Tina really gets what she sort of deserves, really. Amanda says it and does it, and Tina doesn't fight back, and kind of is sort of a heap on the floor apologising, which is presumably what Amanda has been fantasising about. Yeah, so I suppose I felt like within the story, even though it doesn't come at the end, and it isn't the denouement that you might expect, I felt like it was enough closure, and it was the right kind of closure, and that Tina didn't come back, because she shouldn't. That wouldn't have been right, because she kind of deserved that. But how much
more interesting, both as an actor and a writer, to have those layers in a character who's not just one thing or not just the other. I think it's the duality.
I really enjoy that. I enjoy, because I feel that the more I can kind of reach for that, or like the more that's possible to demonstrate, then the more accurate in a way it can feel, because it's ultimately even people that you really feel, even Jean, the mum. Well, of course, the mum. More than anything, there is a sense that you feel like you want and you would need to have an insight into her psychology or her mentality or her history, because there's reasons for everything ultimately, but I suppose this is just particular to this kind of story cycle. Some people are, I suppose, out and out baddies, but are they? I don't know. I suppose they are. Even Darth, was he that bad? Was he? But I just sort of think, I just find it interesting,
to explore those layers.
Just to explore those layers, and tell a story, incorporating those layers, and tell a story that does make you think. But I know sometimes people do feel, and there was a child, the friend I know who'd been bullied at school and watched the film, and it really worried me how he looked at me afterwards. He gave me a little bit of a kind of look, like, oh, I see. And I was like, no, that's not, I'm not like that's, but I kind of wanted to, but I just accepted that. People will take different things from it, and experience it in different ways. But I suppose in the end, I just it felt authentic to me. And so that's what I went with.
Look, I think those sort of complexities and those layers are what make, it is, like you say, it's a film. It was a micro-budget film. I don't know if any of you understand this. I've only made one feature myself, but to understand what it means to have made this film in 12 days, I don't know how to explain it to you. That you can make something like this in 12 days. I'm kind of worried about what capacities you have. And it must have been an extraordinarily pressured shoot.
Well, Louise. We had 12 days,
Tell
but we
us.
also did have another half a day in the boxing ring. So
Oh, you had a half day, my goodness.
Yeah. And we also filmed kind of an afternoon with Russell, but like the main shoot. So I feel bad saying 12, but like, because there were these 2 other half days.
Call it 15.
But I think by the time I got to start filming, I'd done a lot of prep. And mentally, the only way I could even consider, like the only way I could prepare for it was just to make sure that like physically I was really and because it was filmed in my hometown, I was able to physically completely familiarise myself with all the locations. There's no surprises. Where I could paint walls, I painted walls.
Does that mean, because I know that feeling of like where you're thinking, okay, so I don't have to pay for that, and I could do that because that's next to there, and when you're filming in your home spot, was that you pounding the pavements, going, we could do that here, we could do that?
Absolutely walking around looking for locations. I mean, even during the shoot, I was still trying to find locations. Like after we'd finished filming on one day, I was literally walking around trying to find somewhere to shoot Amanda and Jordan's scenes, because the person who I thought was going to let us use their flat was saying no, and I literally was walking around and just walked up to these children playing in the street and said hello, and they were like hello, like the olden days, And I said, can I come and meet your mummy? And she sort of said, yeah. And we just literally, she guided me to her mum's front door, which was where we filmed Jordan and Amanda. And this was literally the day before we were, I am not joking. And I was like, hello, Tanya. And she was like, hello. And I basically just sort of blagged it. And then, yeah, I did. And then she was like, after being quite initially friendly and enthusiastic, she then looked at me a bit like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, we'll pay you. We've got a little bit of budget. We can give you some money. And she was like, who are you? And then I actually had to Google myself and say, look, I'm like kind of I've got a Wikipedia page. I'm like, I'm really, I'm actually a person. I'm like and
a local.
Just some weirdo. And also some weirdo, but also I've got a Wikipedia. I'm a weirdo with a Wikipedia page. And so she said yes, but it was like that. But I think why I don't remember any of it in any way like negative is, I think, because I hadn't realised until I started doing it how much I wanted to, and how much I was so thrilling and thrilled at the prospect of creating and like writing and creating and directing a film.
Are you a little bit addicted now?
Yeah, I'm totally addicted. And I just the whole process, it was a sort of revelation in a way. I was like, it felt just like from the beginning, and I think the first AD, the first assistant director when we first started was a bit worried because he, like understandably, because he'd seen the schedule and he was like an he'd been a fighter in Thailand, and he was very like, but he was very sweet and sort of gentle spoken and Irish, but he also sort of was a paid fighter in Thailand for some time in his life. He was kind of an interesting combination of things, but he kept at the beginning asking me if I was stressed, and he kept saying, "Are you stressed? Are you stressed? Are you stressed, Jessica? Are you stressed? Are you stressed? Are you stressed? You've got 10 more minutes. You've got 10 more minutes on this scene. You've got 5 more minutes. You've got 5 more minutes." I was like, "Oh, Dave, please, I can't." I was like, "You are really stressing me out." I'm like, I am really, can I tell you that I'm having like a really good time? I've got like, I know what's happening, and I just, and so it took a few days to kind of reassure Dave, to calm Dave down. But once Dave settled and calmed down, yeah, we kind of, the shoot was over pretty much. But yeah, I mean, I'd wanted to do it so badly for so long, and I've had lots of different ideas and things I'd wanted to direct, and this just seemed to suddenly happen, and I was like, I just didn't think about it, didn't look down, didn't think about, just went for it, just totally went for it, and and I think that's why I didn't think about it too much.
Can you tell us, is there anything that you, looking at it now, apart from having a load more money and a bit more time?
Yeah. Oh, were there things I would change? There are definitely things. Shot lengths, holding scenes, less, that it comes towards the end. I had a long time with one editor, and then she had a baby, and it just made sense to just finish off with another. And there was a few compromises. Just taste choices, and I realised I had a bag of things I wasn't going to compromise on. That was going to hold on to that, and then a kind of little things that I could trade. Like I said, okay, he can have that, but he's not having that and that and that. Like I was basically kind of, sort of deciding that if there were things that people were going to dig their heels in, because towards the end, that's when people start to say, no, you shouldn't, no, that should be shorter, no, you should definitely cut that. For the most part, I was left alone. And there were things that I was sort of, I could go, well, could either or. But now when I watch, I realise that I would never, ever do that again. I'm never gonna go, yeah, no, fine, yeah. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to become a nightmare, more of a nightmare.
Do you know?
And never, ever compromise ever on anything. No, I am. If I ever get a chance to do it again.
Because obviously you've been like that. Just to get you here has been hard. I'm teasing. What I was going to say is it's really interesting you saying that, because we were having a conversation with Maxine Peake on our opening night, and there were a lot of similarities in what she was saying. Is that I said, what would you do different? And she said, I wouldn't let them have that.
Yeah, it's true. For me, it comes down roughly to literally length of shots that you're holding. So for here, the things is literally, is it going to be a 2-second hold on that shot, or is it going to be a 4-second? Are you going to cut away from that scene at that point, or are you going to cut away at that point? And it literally, those are the things. So they're not things that literally stab me in the heart. They're things that I thought, okay, but I see them all every time I watch the film. So, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But it is genuinely,
But one of the things that I know that as a filmmaker, it's really exciting when you go and see film. I mean, it's torture and exciting for me, at least. Anyway, when I watch a film, sometimes I pace up and down outside. I think they're not laughing, they're not crying, or whatever it is.
These guys were such a great audience. You were amazing. You were great.
I mean, seriously, it was very interesting to feel the vibe in the auditorium tonight, because it was different to when I've seen it before, and so it was really nice to feel the beats of the story a little bit differently. In
so do we call that a Hebden welcome?
I think it's the Hebden effect.
Louise,
can I just?
Louise, do you want your warning on timing if you want to do Q&As?
Okay.
Can we? You got 10 minutes. You got 5 minutes. You got 2 minutes. You got 3 minutes. Are you stressed?
Are you stressed?
Louise set the timing.
Who's stressed? The last thing I'd love to ask you before we open it up to the audience, because I know there's a lot of big fans here. I mean, apart from the fact that, do we have a local? I mean, I live in Todmorden, so I'm really excited that there's a couple of Todmorden fans in here. Who's from Todd? Woohoo! Absolutely.
Oh, hey!
Could you tell us, in terms of the directing and the writing part for you, because obviously you do so many things. I'm actually convinced there's a few of you. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, there is. All in here. No.
Could you tell us anything that you can share with us that's coming up?
A Russell T Davies series. I've just finished.
Is he some sort of kind of writer or something?
I don't know. He's just done. I mean, he's kind of starting out. He's written an extraordinary near future sci-fi. I think I can say that. Set in the UK, and he's got an amazing ensemble cast starring Emma Thompson. Yeah, just her. Has anyone heard of her? Anyone heard of her? And it's all about a family, and I'm in the family. The Lions, based in Manchester, so I've just finished filming that, which is amazing. And then I kind of got a few ideas that I'm sort of working on, a script for something else, and I'm kind of excited about that. I want to do something which is more of a comedy, but character-led kind of comedy. So I'm just working on that as an idea, just trying to get that script together. I feel like I want to do it similar to this in a way, kind of write a script, maybe get people attached and see if another miracle happens, because it's pretty miraculous.
I mean, because people have
Isn't it? I mean, what it's like to get film made. It's like, has this actually happened? It's what it feels like.
It's amazing, isn't it? I think also people have seen you in so many different things. You've got so many approaches. I mean, was it There She Goes with David Tennant?
Yeah, that's been commissioned for a new series, but I can't say when that's filming because it's dates. Right. I thought it was this summer, but I think that's now moved. So I'm pretty sure the BBC want more, but it's just dates and David Tennant and whether or not that we can work all that out. So that's sort of in the offing. But that was great.
And do you think if it was possible, would you like a few more days filming time?
I'd love a few more days filming. I would love to have a few more days filming. But, post-rationalising, not having much time, and thinking about the moments when I see it, and in the edit, where you think, if we'd filmed this scene outside at this moment, in any kind of conventional length, by the time we'd turned around, or moved on to the single or the two-shot, or, kind of done another wide or whatever, the light would have changed, or the wind would have dropped, or something would have happened. And there is a certain energy and a speed that you have to work at when you're working with that kind of time, that actually, when it does work, is kind of magic in a way. But also, it would be nice. It would be nice to have more time, and I would like that.
Look forward to that. Look, I think I can feel the wind-up movements around me. So I'd love to open up the questions to the audience. Can we try and make them questions, not comments? Anyone for a question down here?
Okay, a very clear contender at the front.
Hiya. Hello. My question is, was it... Can you hear me all right? Yeah, okay, there you go. Was it challenging being your own director in a way? Was there a lot of times where you were like lying on the floor, been having to get up behind the camera, been thinking, okay, let's try this, and going back, lying on the floor, but getting up again, etc., etc.?
Oh my God, were you there? That is basically what it was like. Yeah, I mean, it was like that, and sometimes I look back at playback, but sometimes I didn't have time, so I kind of... if it was in focus and I felt like it was, it was like, that was okay. And I did leave my bits to last in general. On one occasion, when we were in the boxing ring, my brother, who is a director and an editor and a kickboxer, my stepbrother, I asked him if he'd come along on that day, because I said, look, I'm going to be trying to do these fight sequences, and we're kind of lining up shots, and I know what I want, but also I'd love it if you could check and make sure that we are getting all enough connecting shots and moments so that when we start putting this together, we've got enough to put these fight sequences together, because he's done a lot of editing and a lot of fighting, really. So he was perfect, but he turned up and he was quite authoritative because he's been on a set before and he's been a director before. And he was he started going, right, you're going to have this light and that light. And Ryan, who was my very protective DOP, who was amazingly supportive, Ryan Edelston was amazing, from Bolton. And he was just brilliant. And I could tell he was starting to get instantly annoyed by Jim, like instantly, just out the corner of his eye. And Ryan's very gentle and very quiet, but also kind of a man of steel. And I could see that he was didn't like Jim, the way Jim was talking to his team and his gaffers, and slightly kind of being a bit. And then suddenly, and this is like not even 9 o'clock in the morning, it's about 8:30 in the morning, suddenly from the corner of the room I heard Ryan, who I've never heard him before or since. He went, right, you, outside, now, to my brother Jim. And I was like, oi, oh, this is going to be fun.
It's kicking off on the fight.
And so they kind of went outside, and he said, right, he said, I don't know who you think you are. He said, but I don't like alpha males. I don't work with them. There's only one voice I want to hear, and that's Jessica's. And I was like, wow, you know. And so they kind of like, and Jim, because I know Jim, and he was totally he wasn't upset or he wasn't fazed by it. He was just, I could see by his face that he was just like, it's fine, really, honestly, don't worry. So it sort of calmed down, and then they were best friends by the end of the day. But yeah, that was, I don't know how that related to your question, but I thought it was quite a funny story.
Yeah. Look,
and I sort of loved, like, Ryan, you know, after that. I mean, apart from he's an amazing DOP, he was also an incredible person. So I was very lucky to have him on set.
What you need, don't you? When you're a director, you need to have a couple of key people.
He'll hate that impression of him as well. We'll have to cut that out.
You'll have to cut that out.
Yeah.
But you need a DOP who has a shared vision and has a shared way of working, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And he was so into it, which is why he's great. I mean, he made Alice Lowe's film, Prevenge. Oh, wow. He was the DOP on that. He's done he's done already loads of amazing work, and his speciality is working in really intense.
Yeah. Has he done documentary and stuff like that?
I'm not sure. I think he started off working with
sort of stuff.
I think he's done some documentary. Yeah, I mean, he can do anything really. But he started off working with Jamie Adams. But yeah,
fantastic. Can we have another question, please, and maybe try someone from the top as well, because we mustn't forget the balcony. I know there's someone in the second row.
We've just had a 5-minute warning with the general manager.
5-minute warning.
Just between Hebden and Todd, there's a boxing gym called the Northern Powerhouse.
Is that you? Hello.
It's not me, but I have gone and I've just passed my level 1 boxing. It was
terrific. Well done.
I wanted to just hear about your experiences doing the actual
boxing
energy of it. Yeah.
Wow. I realised as soon as I started to properly train and like not do box fit, but actually start training to look like I could box and learn the movements and the balancing movements. You know, kind of you lean on that leg, you do a kind of hook with that leg, and the coordination and the complexity of the coordination of the sport of boxing. I realised I was absolutely no good at it at all. Because it's so, you have to have such a particular kind of right brain, left brain coordination where you can move your body. It's like it's dance in that it's a choreograph. It's sort of complex choreography and an instinct to sort of anticipate your opponent and react instinctively with balance and skill. And just the more I started properly actually training and working out sequences with Kathy in a boxing ring, and then watching these professional, because there's 2 professional boxers who actually are in the film. When I'm sparring in the ring, I'm sparring with a boxer, Jessica, who's actually also called Jessica, but is a professional boxer. And watching her and Adriana properly spar and how strong they are, and actually how skilled they are, just made me realise just how skilled I wasn't. But I really enjoyed it, and I loved learning it, and I loved sort of meeting the boxers that I met on the journey, and still like watching the sport, and I loved sort of doing the research for it, and I looked up lots of female different coaches and female boxers just out of interest, and found some really incredible sports women, you know, online, and who were really inspiring as well. And I love the sport of boxing, and I just, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all my kind of contact with it. But then I did actually, when I was doing the scene with Jessica in the ring that you see, I moved my head up a little bit too high on one of the shots, and it's actually in the film, and she did actually punch me in the face.
Is that where you get the shiner?
Well, the shiner comes as part of the action and was written into the film. So this happened when we were in the boxing thing, and actually someone said they could hear a crack because my cheekbone actually cracked. It's not very funny, is it? It's actually quite serious. And someone said I could just, my mask, that shot where I'm falling down on the floor, that was just after that happened, we got that shot, and my mask started to sort of like rise up off the side of my face, but luckily it was on the side that I already had a black eye for the film.
How convenient.
It was very convenient, but it was clear, you know, that any scenes we were going to do later where I didn't have a black eye were going to be really difficult to film. So actually the scene we filmed then immediately afterwards was the scene where Kathy says, "All right, Rocky, you can come in and fight." So I'd just been punched in the face, and did that scene, which I thought worked quite well actually. Sort of, it's quite good, quite good energy.
Unbelievable.
But,
I know.
but I'm not a very good boxer, and it almost felt like it sort of proved that to myself. But I still love boxing. But yeah. Anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much.